Welcome to the Dirtbag Chronicles, Episode 2. We are excited to be in this moment with you and share this experience of a fellow dirtbag. So buckle up and enjoy the ride, motherfucker. Today, we have a very special episode. We have our first guest. His name is Aaron. We're going to kind of let him introduce himself. But I'm super excited to hear your story and your testimony, and hopefully we can get this out there so we can help other addicts. So go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what's so important to you to be on the show and kind of share your experience.
Thank you, man. I'm glad to be here. Like I said, my name is Aaron. My clean date or the day that I got clean is May 20th, 2018. So a little over 4.5 years now.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, man. It's been a blessing for sure. I owe my life to this. You know, I don't think I would have survived any of the things I've been through if it weren't for me finding recovery. So I'm grateful to be here, and maybe somebody can hear this and it will help them as well. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm 32 years old, by the way. And I started out life just like the rest of us, you know, as a baby. And that's a terrible joke. Nobody laugh at that, please. And, you know, I had a fairly normal childhood, or at least I'd like to say that. You know, at times, really it wasn't. You know, my father killed himself when I was very young. You know, it was kind of before I would have ever had any opportunity to remember it. I think I was a year old, maybe two. It was 1991. So I grew up just me and my mom, you know, and everything was fine. You know, nobody's getting high in the house. Mom was great, you know. But, you know, that growing up without a father, right, can have an effect on anybody, no matter whether they were there or not in my memory, you know. Yeah. And so I just went through life, you know, normal. And I always feel like there's always this great debate, right, about addiction, whether it be a disease, okay, or a choice, like whether we're born in it, right? Nature versus nurture, that kind of thing, you know? Yeah. And for me, in my experience, I believe that I was born with it, you know, because we went to daycare, you know, when my mom went to work and stuff. And I remember this is one of the first experience I remember having. Right, I was having consequences from changing the way that I feel at like 3 years old, you know. So we'd spin around and get real dizzy, right? Yeah. It felt real cool. Did you do that too?
Yeah, I definitely did. All right. We also did like the hold your breath and pass each other out because it's like, wow, this is cool, man.
Yeah. That's always a question I like to ask people about this, though, because I was like, I want to like get this group you know, survey of like, did you do this shit too, you know? Yeah. And it turns out a lot of us did. Yeah. Yeah. But I was doing that, right? Got real dizzy and I fell and split my lip on a table. 3 years old, right? So that's the first consequence for me trying to feel different, you know, from that age. I still have a scar on my lip from it 30 years ago. Wow. Right? You know?
You must have hit yourself fucking hard.
Real bad, yeah. That was one of my earliest memories, too, because we went to the hospital. I had to go to the hospital, you know, and I very vividly remember that hospital trip, right, and having to get stitches in my lip. And at 3 years old, first memory, right?
Yeah, you have a lot better memory than I do.
Busting my mouth. That's really the only one that I remember, you know, that early. Maybe a little bit from here and there from school and stuff, but so we'll fast forward a little bit, you know, just normal childhood shit, run around playing, doing this and that. And my first experience with drugs, I would say, is I was about 10 or 11, fifth grade, probably.
So young.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So prescription drugs, you know, because I had to have braces when I was young. And what they ended up doing was cutting out a bunch of my baby teeth, right, to make room for my adult teeth to grow in so that they could do the orthodontic stuff. And so I was prescribed some painkillers, you know, at that young age, you know. So, you know, my mom gave me the one that I was supposed to. We did all the things and just like set them on the counter, you know. Mm-hmm. And, this is no fault to anybody else, but it's like, who expects an 11-year-old, right, to get into the painkillers?
Right.
But I did. And so I took the one, my mom gave it to me, and was like, okay, like I feel better, like my mouth doesn't hurt anymore. And so I had this thought, like what's going to happen if I take another one? Okay, at 11 years old, young.
Yeah, that's young.
Right, and this is not learned behavior.
Right.
People aren't getting high around me. Like none of that.
None of your friends are getting high.
No.
And it's just
No,
like,
we're in fucking elementary school,
Yeah.
dude. Like at a Christian school, no
Yeah.
less, And so I was like, I just wonder what's 2 gonna feel like? What's the second one gonna feel like? And I took it and I felt great. Felt really good, I loved it. And I remember that from that age, I was just like, man, I want to feel like this all the time. Right. So that began kind of my love affair, right, with opiates and any drug, really, to begin with.
so you would say your DOC is opiates.
Yeah, if I had to pick one,
Yeah.
definitely would have been my favorites. Like I didn't discriminate
Right.
at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I just love to get high.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
altered effect and,
Yeah.
and feeling different. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of people that would say, "Hey, man, I fucking hate drugs, dude. I hate drugs. I hate this and that." And I have a hard time if they got high like I did, believing that.
Right.
So you're a liar.
Yeah.
I'd be a liar if I said that because
Yeah.
I love to get high.
Right.
I love
me
drugs.
too.
I love it
Yeah.
so much that I sold my soul for it.
Right.
You
That's,
know, Gave away everything I had
yeah.
for it.
Absolutely.
So for me to say that I hated it was a lie.
Right.
It was the consequences. That
Would you say that was the first step of getting honest about it, your addiction?
it was, yeah, I'd say it's one of many, right? Because it's first I had to admit like what my life is,
Right.
which is unmanageable, but also that through it takes lots of years and experience, right? Which I'm sure we'll get into to realize that I cannot control my use of drugs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what makes an addict.
Right. Do you think you can't, with that understanding of you can't control your use, was there a time that you thought that you had total control?
Maybe, but I feel like it was just it was denial.
Yeah.
I was in denial of what my life was.
Yeah.
Because I was still in that mindset of like, well, I can stop getting high anytime.
Right. Yeah, me too.
But what I can't stop doing is starting again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
I could stop anytime, but I can't stop starting
Right.
over.
Yeah.
And that's wherein lies the the idea of that I can't control it, right? I have no
Right.
control over that because I would just get it could be a good day, right? It could be a bad day.
Yeah.
I would just wake up one day and be like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to shoot heroin.
Right. I'm going to get fucking high as fuck.
Right. Good day, bad day. Could
Yeah.
be Tuesday. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
It's just that thought. And it's like, and knowing, right, what happens
Right.
and then going to do it anyway. That's like the true insanity, right? I know that my life goes to shit and everything gets fucked up
Yeah.
when I do it.
But I'm still
just
going to
like,
fucking do it. Yeah.
fuck it. Here we go.
At least
you
I'm
know?
high. Well, it's going to shit, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, a lot of people they're like, when do you feel triggered the most? Like when would you use the most? Would it be like some people want to say, when shit just doesn't go my way, like the first thing I want to do is just go get high. And like for me, the way it was is like when shit was going bad, like for some sick, twisted reason, like I was like, I just want to feel fucking bad right now. But when shit was going great, for instance, I had a sales team come to Hot Springs, and on my way to Dallas, I'm like, yes, everything's going good, everything's great. I just got like this big bonus and all this other shit, and I was like, time to fucking get high,
Go
you know.
celebrate.
And then it's like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's like, fuck, I did that shit to myself again. Yeah.
Yeah, any form of success like kind of becomes like foreign, you know. It's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I got so used to everything being so shitty that
Right.
like I was comfortable in that chaos.
And it comes to like that's like the self-sabotage
yeah,
part of that sickness and that insanity.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
exactly it. Yeah, there's something, you know, whatever it is, and in my experience, I believe it's a disease, right? That it just wants to kill me,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
And it's up to me, right, to do what's necessary to make sure that it doesn't
Yeah.
on a daily basis, you know. So that would have been, you know, my first experience with drugs, you know. And these are things that are very important for me to remember, you know. So I have to remember like where I came from, and like in order to like engage in the recovery process, you know, I have to constantly remind myself because it's like easy, you know, you get a few years clean, like 4 years is no. I recognize that it's not like a small feat, you know, but I know a lot of people. It's small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. You know, there's people I've met that have been clean longer than I've been alive,
Right.
and that is just fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I you know, like when I was going through this recovery whole process, getting involved with the program and everything like that, like I would see these people that were clean for like 30 or 40 years, and like me as a freshly renewed into the recovery process, I'm like, these motherfuckers aren't addicts. You know, like, I'm like, there's no way this person is an addict.
Yeah.
Like, they've been clean 40 years, so they used to do dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, like, now that I'm getting a little bit more clean time under my belt, like, it's like, fuck, dude, this staying clean shit is the hardest fucking thing I've ever done. You know what I'm saying? And it is so difficult. And I heard somebody tell me a few weeks ago, they were like, you know, this shit doesn't get easier. We just get stronger.
Right.
And so it's just, you know, the tests and the trials and the temptation. I think what it does is it just builds up our strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that the situation of being clean ever gets easier. We just have a stronger willpower to stay focused and we gain a better understanding of how fucked up the disease actually is.
Right.
You know?
We start to get a concept of like, the drugs aren't my problem.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Like I am
me problem.
I am my problem.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and that's what I love about, you know, being a part of a program like this. Is like I get to draw strength off of other people's experiences.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if these people have stayed clean through, you know, deaths, breakups, like whatever, you know, traumatic events, all kinds of things, right? Because that's one of the most important things too for me to keep in mind is like just because I got clean doesn't mean that shit's not gonna happen. You know, life goes around whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and
it's up to me to learn to deal with that shit without getting high.
Right, and life is gonna happen whether you're high or not,
no matter what.
But it's crazy, like to be clean and have the mentality to deal with those life situations that come on us. We can actually deal with it in a more proper manner. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have to be so chaotic and lose everything again and have to keep starting over every time something little or major happens in our life. Being clean actually gives us that strength to move forward and be like, it's okay. Like this is the kind of shit that actually is supposed to happen because this is fucking life. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to experience this type of shit. Yeah. And we don't have to mask it, but
we get to learn to live with the experiences that like normal people have lived with their whole life and don't get high. Because like normal people don't go get high because like the other day I left work and for no reason whatsoever my truck's been parked at the shop all day. Right. Back window's just blown out, laying all over the ground when I leave work. Man. I was so fucking pissed at first, you know. Yeah. It's just like, God damn it. And for nothing, I'm looking on the video and I'm looking for anybody else to blame it on, right? Besides just the fact that, hey man, sometimes windows break, right? Yeah. They've got defrosters in them anyway. I'm a mechanic. I could go way into this story, but I'm not going to. But, you know, like sometimes shit just happens, you know. Yeah. And it's like, what are we going to do? You know? Right. And I'm just going to sit here and like get all self-centered about it. Like, wow, the universe is out to get me because my fucking windows broke. Like, no, man, this is
It's just what happened.
It's what it is. Like, it's
Yeah.
$180, and that couldn't have happened to a better person.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I do for a living.
Right.
I mean, one phone call, have a window, put it in, problem was fixed in like 2 hours.
That's
you know?
awesome.
And just the ability to do that
To manage that
is a gift. And that's a very small thing compared to like what can happen. It's a very minor inconvenience, you know.
Yeah.
Normal people don't go get high over that shit, but
Right.
or like get upset or self-centered about it. But, you know, we have the capacity to do that.
Right.
You know, which is kind of crazy, but it's interesting getting into the mind of an addict like that. So.
Yeah, it is crazy to think like something so minor can happen to us. And we're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Give me an 80 unit bump. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? We're going to go balls to the walls today. So yeah, that's disease, you know, that's
sick.
Yeah, it's sick as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's just one of like many examples of things that have happened, you know. Go back into the story a little bit. So I had the experience with the prescription drugs and went through high school, started doing what like most high school kids do. Drink a little, smoke a little weed,
Right.
you know, just like normal shit. It's normal to me,
Yeah,
right? It may not be normal to other people. I don't know. It's normal to everybody I know. Like, yeah, man, we were getting blackout drunk, smoking weed, trying to take as many pills as I possibly could.
Yeah.
You know, 16, 17 years old. And, you know, I carried that experience from when I was 11, right, with me. I remembered that, you know, like I feel great. You know, I want to feel like this all the time, but no 11-year-old has ways and means, right, to chase drugs. Can't drive. I don't have a job. I don't have any money, you know, like.
Yeah, and especially like growing up with a decent home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's not drugs laying around, man. You know?
Right.
Like, so I just kind of went on living life, and then when you get out and you start partying with your friends and stuff, and I came across like some more painkillers, you know, and we're smoking and drinking. I always took it all to extremes, you know. It was never just like, well, I'm just gonna take a couple hits off this joint and then like have a beer or two and like go. Like I'm just fucking all gas, you know, every time. Blackout, smoking weed all day long, right? At Christian school, I got kicked out of the school or expelled for a little while because of some drugs. Painkillers. A friend of mine, his parents, or one of them, was prescribed some kind of painkillers, taking morphine every day at like 16 years old, you know, and I got kicked out of that school for a little while, right? Because they didn't want to kick me all the way out because I was an athlete. And I was good. I played on their golf team, and we were like the state championship tournaments, all this shit. Like, but everybody else that was involved in it, right, was gone, right?
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they gave me special treatment, which I don't think helped my situation,
right? But you had
at
value,
all, right? Yeah, to them, And my consequences for that action was lessened, you know, from day one. So that could have been a little bit of form
so it's almost like they
enabling.
were enabling you.
Absolutely, they were, you know. So I came back, you know, and man, even before I graduated high school, senior year, I'm having withdrawals, you know, feeling bad, and I don't know why. You know, I didn't know. I didn't know what I'd got myself into, you know, 'cause I'm just experimenting. I'm just like a curious kid, you know. And I didn't know why I woke up and I felt like shit all the time. I thought something was really wrong with me, like, because I was playing football and golf and sports and things like that, you know. I thought maybe I'd gotten hurt.
Right.
Like, why do I ache all the time?
Right.
You know, and I'd never put two and two together that all that quit when I would take the painkillers. Okay, the drugs are just doing their job.
Right.
Which they were, right? You know, they were satisfying that, you know, that withdrawal, that craving that I was having because of it. And, you know, that progressed. I graduated high school barely, you know, my grades and everything started suffering. Like, I barely passed. They were like fudging my grades so that I would stay eligible to play sports and stuff, you know, like just fucking up, you know. And then by the time I turned 18, right, I had a cousin who was heavily involved in the drug trade in Tulsa.
Okay.
and he wouldn't fuck with me, because I was a kid, I was a
Yeah.
minor. Like that's a big no. All the other shit he was doing was okay, but
Right.
I'm not selling dope to a minor.
Yeah, drug dealer with morals.
Mhm.
We have to have a line somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But
That's what makes us feel better about being a dirtbag.
right, yeah. And so I got involved with that, big time. Like it was crazy. And I was at the time in Tulsa they had this program where like if you if you went to school in Tulsa County, for every year you went to school in Tulsa County, they'd give you 25% off tuition, right, at the community college, Tulsa Community College. So I had a full ride, right, basically to just a junior college,
That's an awesome
like
program.
do something. It is, yeah. It's great. I absolutely did not take advantage of it,
Right.
because I got involved with him, and I had this mindset, I'm getting high every day, right, and I'm selling all kinds of dope, ecstasy, coke, whatever, all sorts of shit. And I, by this point, had found like some really steady connects with the pills and shit, oxys and all that. And this was back when OxyContin was real,
And the doctors were just handing
everywhere. The
shit out.
shit was everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was cheap. It was so cheap. And so I'm like, why the fuck am I going to go to college when I just went out and made $5,000 today?
Right.
Like, fuck that.
Right.
Genius,
Yeah,
smart as fuck. Fucking too smart for my own good.
Yeah.
Who needs to go to school and get an education? I can just sell dope all day.
Yeah.
It worked out really well.
Yeah, I can tell.
So man, I just did that for so long, and it was so interesting to see, because we're the way that things are going in the country right now. We're an opiate crisis, right? Opioid crisis with the fentanyl and all that stuff. And it's like I participated in and watched all of this develop from the ground up. 2008, 2009 was probably like the height of OxyContin and all that. And it had been going on for years before that, all through the early 2000s. And, then everybody was doctor shopping. You could have multiple scripts to different doctors. People I knew had scripts of 10 doctors in 3 different states, all over the place, man. Thousands of pills everywhere. And everything was so cheap, This is just basic economics, supply and demand. There's a fucking huge supply. The demand's obviously high, but the supply way outweighed the demand, so the cost is low.
Right.
And so I watched it. Like the DEA got involved and they cut out the doctor shopping and all of that shit. And so all of a sudden then they changed the formula on the OxyContin, and everything got really, really expensive really fast, right? And then the drug dealing kind of shit the bed too, because everybody went to jail naturally. And so the supply was gone, right? And I'm left with this massive drug habit. Dude, I'm doing just obscene amounts of oxys every day.
Yeah.
And Xanax and all kinds of shit. And this was before I ever like really started overdosing, but that's a fucking recipe for disaster, man.
Yeah.
Fucked up all the time. Every day, day in, day out. And like those were like the good times, because I could afford it. I wasn't having to like resort to a lot of crime, robberies, all this other shit to get high because I had the money to pay for it.
Right.
But then, like that, I didn't. And then the whole market switched up when they started regulating the pills real bad, and everything got really, really expensive. I had this huge habit that I couldn't pay for. And so what did I do to pay for my habit?
Right.
Felonies.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Duh.
Man, that was like when it started getting real rough. So all that happened, I would say probably about 2011, 2012. And by 2013, I was in prison. So that shit didn't last very long at all. And so I went to prison in 2013. And for 3 years, right, 2013, 14, 15, turned 23, 24, and 25 in prison. And
Those are great birthdays, aren't they?
yeah, yeah.
Love spending the holidays locked up.
Man, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was an experience, man. I was young, right, and I had been in trouble before as a juvenile, and I'd run from the police a couple of times, and you know they fucking love it when you do that. So, they gave me a lot of security points. A, because I was young. B, because of my charges. I got jammed up on 8 felonies all at once. You know, I was doing all this shit, man, robbing people, robbing places, selling dope. You know, and everybody was a part of like a real big investigation, you know, and I was like kind of on the outside circle of it, and they knew like I was involved, and they just had a stack of papers this fucking tall, right, of shit that they had on me, you know, but they couldn't really prove, you know, so they were very upset with me because I should probably still be locked up like today, you know. Fortunately, for whatever reason, you know, I'm not. As you can tell, because I'm here.
Right. Clearly.
Surprise. And so I went on 8 felonies out of what probably should have been like 20. And man, I got high when I was in prison too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've heard about the system there in Oklahoma, and I hear it's wide open. Like you can have whatever you want there. There's more drugs in prison there than there is on the streets, pretty much.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere. And I went to a medium security right off the bat when I was there, which is like big boy prison, you know, and I was young, I was big, and they thought I was stupid, you know, so there was a lot of like gang involvement and stuff that
were you ever recruited or prosecuted?
Yeah, they tried for sure, but I was like, man, I'm gonna be going home in like 3 years. I don't have time for all of this shit.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be a part of that. You know, so they did what they do, and they beat the living shit out of me.
Yeah. Fun.
Or tried, you know, and after a while they quit fucking with me, you know, because I stood on, you know, what I said. Like I'm not.
And I think that's what's most important in prison. Like from my experience too, you know, it's just. If you stand your ground and you keep your head high and you don't, I mean, this, you know, the saying, I don't take no shit is you don't have to fight everybody that you see.
No.
You just, when someone does some bitch ass shit to you, stand your ground, stand up for yourself and show some kind of like strength about yourself, you know, but the second that you hunker down and run, you're over.
Yeah,
you're over, and they're gonna take advantage of that because there's fucking animals in that fucking place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's cool that you were able to stick up for yourself and make sure that you weren't taken advantage of, and not go into the process of thinking that you have to have a family in there. You know what I'm saying? So that takes a lot of courage. That shows a lot of strength about you.
Right. Well, I knew that I was only going to be at medium security for like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
You know, so it didn't, and I just had no interest in that. You know what I mean? We have like beliefs and values right in our life, and that was not something that, you know, I believed in.
Yeah. See, dirtbags can have fucking morals and values.
Right. You know,
and most of us dirtbags are great people.
Yeah.
We're just lost in that fucking addiction.
Yeah. We get stuck in some bullshit, man. Yeah. And it's like, that's something that's very valuable. I've learned in recovering, like through the program is that we're not like intrinsically bad people.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times we develop weird mannerisms and habits and like, you know, this mask or this shell that we have to wear. Because of the environments that we operate in,
right?
You know, because when we're living in that life, like everybody's out to get me. You know, everybody's shady. I'm shady too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just like the way that it is. You know, but we, you know, we've learned that I've learned, you know, that it's like this person that I've been able to become today. Right? It didn't just like come from nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Like that had to have been in me from the beginning, right? And just like through engaging in a recovery process, I've been able to like unlock that and become that person that who I was originally intended to be.
Mhm.
You know, so when we're poisoning ourselves, right, we become somebody else.
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. Bring out the evil shit.
Right.
Because everybody's got that evil dark side to them. Just whether or not we go to that. Like I think the saying is, you have two wolves inside of you, and which one are you gonna feed? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
We feed the good wolf.
yeah.
Feed the wolf that likes cheeseburgers. And
Yeah.
Not heroin.
Right. Big fucking difference. So after prison, what was life like?
Hey, well, I mean, so one of the points I wanted to bring too is like I got high in prison too, right?
Yeah.
And this is another thing, like I was talking about earlier, you know, is things that like fully solidify the idea in my head, right? That I'm like for sure a like full blown junkie addict, and I can
Right.
never use drugs normally,
Yeah.
like most like other people do. You know, it's like getting high in prison, right? You know, I willingly did drugs that came like out of another man's ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying, you
Yeah.
know, and because that's how the drugs get there, right?
Right.
And it's like it's funny now, you
Yeah.
know, I can laugh at this shit,
But it's fucking sick.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Normal people don't do that,
Right.
You know, and not only that, like I'm locked up in a box, you know, because of a direct result
Yeah.
of my using and
Right.
selling of drugs.
Right.
There's no question about that.
Right.
That's why I'm there, continuing to get high.
Yeah.
You know, I still hadn't got down with the fact, right, that the drugs are the common denominator, right, for all these
Right.
problems.
Yeah.
You know, so I ended up getting out of prison, and I would like to say that prison was enough for me to like get my shit together.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't. It was definitely something that stuck with me, and was an experience that I did not want to go through again.
Right.
You know, because it got pretty dark in there, right? You go to meet security, it's violent, bro. It's gang related. It's racial.
Yeah.
You know, it's rough. It's not a good time at all.
No.
As you know, it's not
Yeah.
fun.
No, it's not.
Not a good time, and nothing I want to go through again.
Okay.
You know, so I kept my shit together for like a little bit, very loosely, you know, and then like I was talking about earlier, I'll just wake up one day like, man, I just want to get high, right? Because at that point, I'm still like, well, as long as I just like drink a little whiskey here and there, smoke a little weed,
Yeah.
like I'll be cool. You know what I mean? I'll be fine. I
Yeah.
still had that mindset, and it took a long time for me to get out of that mindset, right? That I'm a person who has to abstain from all drugs, right, in order to be better. I cannot control my use of drugs in any form.
Right.
Alcohol, weed, none of that.
Right. Nothing.
None of it. Can't do it. I
Yeah.
tried a lot. And some days I think that's some bullshit,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I've moved to a point of acceptance about it, right?
Right.
That like, this is just, you know, this is what I got to do.
Right.
I kind of
This
like not being dead, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So this is what I have to do, you know, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Right.
I love the way that my life is today compared to what it used to
Right.
be.
Yeah. Same here.
And so I ended up getting high again because that's what we do. And by this point, I got introduced all the way up until this point, right? I never put a needle in my arm. So like it got that bad without even the needle. So when we introduced the needle, what happened? It's fucking way worse. Real fast.
Yeah, just
real fast. Dude.
real fast.
So bad. And I remember I was finally introduced to heroin, right? Because like I was talking about earlier, everything got so expensive, you know, and like trying to do pills was like not economically feasible anymore. So, and I'd always like stuck my nose up in the air and thought I was fucking better than like people shooting heroin and all this stuff, like fucking peasants, bro. You know, like, I was no better than them, right? Just because my shit came in a bottle, right? It was packaged in a pharmacy doesn't make it any different. It's the same. It's exactly the same, you know. So I've gotten introduced to some people and they were doing that, and I was just like real sick one day and like, hey man, like this will. I told them what I was looking for. They're like, bro, just do this. Like it's the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. It is.
You're a classy user, aren't you?
Yeah, so classy. I was so classy. Been to prison, fucking robbing people, like classy as fuck. And I did that, right? I shot some heroin. They showed me how to do all that. And I remember being so upset, right? Not because like my addiction is progressing, it's getting worse. You know, I was mad because I had been wasting my fucking money on oxys this whole time. You know? I could have been getting, you mean to tell me I could have been getting higher, cheaper, and longer this whole time? And I'm the fucking idiot that had my nose turned up to this shit, you know? All these things, right? And they're examples like that instance I just talked about, the getting high in prison, right? Getting high, even though I know what happens, right? That's, those are the mark. These are things that remind me, you know what I mean? That I'm a fucking real addict. Nobody thinks, normal people like don't think about that. You know, that's some real fucking addict thinking. You know?
Absolutely.
How can I get as high as possible, as cheap as possible, as often as possible?
As often as possible.
You know, and well, that was the beginning of the end right there. It's off to the races, man. I was like back in the crime, trying to sell drugs as much as I could, you know, but everybody I knew was in jail or wouldn't fuck with me because they knew I was just out there being a piece of shit. Dirtbag. You know, nobody wanted to fuck with me. I'd robbed everybody. I'd hurt anybody who ever loved me, you know what I mean? And I was fucking alone, you know, and I started overdosing like a lot, like, pretty often, I think. From the years like 2016 to 18, when I got clean, I overdosed like at least half a dozen times. And the last one in particular is I was alone, right? And I had a car at this time, miraculously. I still had a car, right? Didn't have tags, insurance, none of that shit. It's fucking falling apart. I had warrants, you know, but I could get around.
You can go get that shit.
And man, I'm in the hood, right in Tulsa, 61st and Peoria. If anybody hears this and they know that, they'll know where I'm talking about.
Right where 61st and Peoria.
Rough, dog, super rough. And I'd gotten some heroin, you know, and by this point I knew like what an overdose feels like. You know, can't breathe all of a sudden and get real fucking lightheaded. If you even feel that, most of the time it's just out. And it gets so bad, right, in my mind when I'm using, you know, that like my life sucks, right, because I'm getting high. Okay. And then I'm getting high to deal with the fact that my life sucks. Okay, so I'm just chasing my tail around in this fucking circle, right? Using it against my will. I don't want to get high because I know everything is bad, but I'm too scared to stop getting high because I'm going to be dope sick. And I don't know anywhere else to live or any other way to live than that at the time. You know? So it gets to the point where like I'd rather die, you know, than live the way that I'm living, you know, and that's where my head goes when I get high, right? So people are like, well, I party until I'm homeless, or I'm party until I get arrested. Like, I party until I want to kill myself, bro.
Fucking dead.
You know? And I was too big of a pussy to actually kill myself, you know? So it was almost something that I like longed for, right? Is this going to be the next shot that's going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd come to a point in my car alone in the hood, like behind this bar, going off somewhere secluded to get high because I just got it scored.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the shit had to be laced with fentanyl because I didn't do that much.
Right.
I was using very heavily at this point, and it wasn't a lot. It was just enough that I'd planned on like just kind of getting right, you know.
You've probably done rinses bigger than that.
Yeah, yeah, and nobody was more shocked than me that I was about to fall out when I did this shit, But I had this is what had the moment of clarity, right, or that rock bottom people may be familiar with.
Yeah.
It was like that point where I'm stuck face to face with like who I am and what my life has become.
Yeah.
Directly because of my using.
Yeah.
And so I thought about somebody other than myself for just 1 second, and I thought about my mom. Figured I was gonna overdose, and it's like, dude, like mom's been through it,
Yeah.
It was her first husband killed herself. She's gotten remarried, and he died of cancer, right? The last thing that she fucking needs is for her only son, right? I'm an only child, to die, like with a needle in his arm in the fucking hood in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Right.
And there's other people on that list too, right? I hadn't thought about what that would do to them.
That's incredible.
Instead of like me just trying to get high, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, man, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
I don't want to die, right? That's not really what I want.
Yeah.
I just don't want to fucking live like this anymore.
Yeah.
And shortly before that, right, I'd been introduced to a 12-step program. Probably not very long after I got out of prison, right, 2015 or 16. And that I carried that with me, right, and I didn't. Nobody walks into a meeting like that, because like things are going good.
Yeah.
No.
Right. My life's great. Let me go to a
my life's
meeting.
great. I just want to go see what these people are talking about.
Yeah.
And and the only reason that I went, right, and I think it's no mistake that I found that, we talk a lot about higher powers of divine intervention. I don't think it was any mistake or coincidence, right, that I found this place, because I feel like the perfect bait was used for me to walk into that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a woman.
Duh.
Yeah. You feel me?
Yeah.
And she's just like, hey man, she knew me from before, and she knew me how I was going to say, hey man, you're kind of fucked up right now, bro. You should probably come down here and check this out. I was like, yeah, okay, sure, great.
You're gonna be there.
I didn't give. Yeah, are you gonna be there? Exactly. Yeah, I didn't give a fuck about the recovery or none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They talk about like if you want what we have, and I definitely wanted what she had.
Yeah.
And it wasn't her recovery by any means, but I went, and I was still getting high, and everybody knew it. They had to have known that, and the experience I have now, like they had to know that I was getting high, but like they made me feel welcome, man, and they carried that message to me, right? They're like, bro, you don't have to do this anymore.
Right.
Like you can like live a good life.
Yeah.
And
that's really.
Yeah, and I stuck around. I'd heard their experiences, enough to realize that, hey, man, these people really are like me, and they've found a way out of this shit, right?
Right.
And that shit ruined my fucking high for so long, bro. Forever, right? Because it's like they had planted the seed within me, but at that point I just like wasn't ready, so.
Mm-hmm.
After I'd overdosed, I moved here, right? I have some family here at Hot Springs. And I just could not. I know that people get clean in their own hometowns and stuff, but I was not able, right? I know that it's possible now, but I just couldn't see it in my life. So I got a hold of some family that I had here. I said, look, man, I'm fucked up. I got to get out of here, dude. I can't get it together, and I remembered. So I came here and I went to rehab, and immediately got out and went like back to the program, because that's what I knew. I had run out of ideas, you know what I mean? I didn't have any more good ideas. For a long time, I thought I had some great ideas, and then I would think I'd run out and then somebody give me $20 and I'm like, well, I
Yeah.
got another fucking idea, you know, I'm going like right back after it. And, but at this point, like I was completely exhausted, you know, like I was going to die. I had nothing. Nobody would fuck with me. Like even my own mom, you know, like everybody was just like sick of my shit, including myself first and foremost. And I'm like forever grateful to the program, you know, because I dealt with like a lot of misinformed people throughout, you know, and I think that I was probably the first of those misinformed people about who could help me with my recovery. You know, I was convinced that you'd had to have some kind of a qualification, right? You need a degree, or you need to be a doctor, or a fucking counselor, or a pastor, or like a lawyer, a judge, right? Like all these people had opinions on what was wrong with me, you know, but nobody had any experience,
right?
You know, and I'm not saying that those people don't have something good to offer me,
right?
In their own field of study, right? But if you would have told me that I could go to this place where there's just a bunch of regular motherfuckers, right? Just regular people, right? And the only qualification, right, that they have to help somebody with their addiction is that they've been there too. You know, I would have told you were out of your mind. You know, but God damn it, it's helped me so much,
right?
And I'm eternally grateful for those people. You know, I got a sponsor. I started working steps, and you know, 4.5 years later, we're here. I get to help other people. And like that's the most fulfilling thing, right there. Really, is seeing somebody new come in and just like get it, and like change their lives, bro. It's like, if it's one fucking person, you know, it helps me to feel like none of these experiences I had, were in vain. And there's a million other little side stories that went on, you know, that are pretty fucked up.
And it's no longer that time's not wasted anymore.
Right.
When you do that, and you know, and you can't do that for anybody else, but by you going through your shit and someone else sees that you went through that shit and they're like, damn, that's hope. Like, like because you have to hit that rock bottom. You have to have that understanding of I want something better. Like I desire something better because I can see that this person has better and they were there too, you know, and it's just that's the most incredible part. Like you were saying, it's just seeing somebody make that decision, that conscious decision to say, I've had enough. I've had enough. And I believe anybody that has gone through that experience can do the same thing that was done for them. And I think that's why they say, you know, the only way that we can keep what we have is by giving it away. Right. You know,
so I mean, that's the whole goal of the whole deal, right? Is to just try to make recovery available for all. And that's like, the shit is not easy, right? And it's up to the individual, you know, to decide when they've had enough, you know, like, so like we get to choose where that rock bottom is. You know, nobody can choose for us. Right. Someone used to tell me this shit all the time. It's like, you find yourself in a hole, like, what's the first thing that you got to do to get out of it? You got to quit digging first, you know? And, you know, it doesn't have to get that bad, but, you know, we're all humans and we're all different. Right. We all have different tolerances for pain. And for some of us, it takes more than others. Right. Which is unfortunate, you know, but all we can do at times, sometimes I feel it's just our place to plant that seed, just like the seed was planted for me. Right. Because I wasn't ready back then to do that shit. Yeah. When I was 25 years old, I was still young, full of energy. Man, I was raring to go. I hadn't had enough. Right. You know, I hadn't been so close to death yet. You know, but yeah. And so like I kind of talked about that on the introduction podcast, episode 1. About like what rock bottom actually was. And, you know, like rock bottom, what I was saying was like rock bottom isn't any kind of situation that happens to you or what gets taken from you. It's the moment of clarity of being like, duh. Yeah. You know, finally. Like, okay, enough. So I have this understanding, just like you had in the car. You're sitting in the hood and like, I just had to have that understanding and like understanding that you're at your rock bottom.
and that's what makes rock bottom rock
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck,
That point.
why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I want something different. Okay, I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
Now it's time to start fucking throwing dirt back in the hole and building myself back up and raising myself and finding the value of who I am, and I've got purpose now, and sometimes that rock bottom is what gives you your purpose, and that's how you discover that.
Yeah. It's the point where I've gotten so sick of my own shit, and I've had my ass beat enough that I'm willing to ask somebody else for help, right? Because I love to think that I'm the smartest motherfucker in any room that I go to, and I'm like, I can think my way around this shit.
Yeah.
And I tried that for a long time, and I failed. And I finally, after enough of that failure, man, I was just like, I don't know what else to do. I'd run out of ideas, and thank God that I'd found the program when I did, because I don't think without it, I know the way that I get high, and I know the way the drug environment is right now. Like I would have died.
Yeah.
100%. And that's one of many reasons why I stay clean to this day too, is like, I finally gotten to this point. I remember when I first get clean, we're talking about those people who've been clean for a real long time, and they're like, man, it's so much different out there. Like this is not the same, I was like, and it used to like be kind of irritating to me too. They're like, you don't know what it was like back when we were using. And I was like, shut up, you old bitch. Like, you don't know what it's like out there now, And it's like, now I feel like with the way the things have gone, that I've become that person, right? Because it's like the dope ain't the same as it was when I was getting high, and it's not a good thing, right? And it's I'm just forever grateful, right, that I made it out when I did. Because like I said, I know the way that I get high, and I know the shit that I like to do, and I would 100% be dead.
Yeah.
And if I were to go out, right, it's not the same as it was back then. Like,
no, it's totally different.
I've seen it 100 times, man. That's like an occupational hazard of being an addict or being in recovery. Dude. People are gonna die.
Yeah.
They don't have to, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But they're going to.
It's incredible, man. Man, I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, and anytime. And I'd love to have you back and share more about some of those experiences that you actually went through, and some more of the dirtbag shit, that you actually were like, fuck, I can't believe that I actually did that.
Yeah.
So, man, thank you so much.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I've enjoyed this, man.
Absolutely. Well, this is wraps up episode 2 of the Dirtbag Chronicles. Again, thank you for watching us. Just want to remind you, share this content with your friends and family on your pages, and check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and any other platform that we can get this on. We will share that on our Facebook page. But I just want to tell you, we love you. We want to make sure that you have all the resources and tools to get the help that you are needing if you are suffering right now. And we send out our love and light and peace to you, to everyone out there. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great day. Shout out. That was fucking incredible.